Thank you for tuning in. My name's Sammy and I'm going to be walking you through this presentation today on effective communication with children from 0 to 3. Specifically, we're going to be looking at how to address receptive language skills of young children and understand really what receptive language skills are. So let's jump right in and think about what is receptive language. Well, receptive language can also be referred to as comprehension. It's really about what the children understand. So when we use language, they may hear lots of language, but may not understand everything. So receptive language is the language that they actually understand, the words that they comprehend. It's about how well the children understand the language that they actually hear. So, for example, give me your cup. If their eye contact doesn't go anywhere near their cup or they're not able to follow such a simple instruction, it's likely that their receptive language hasn't yet reached that stage where they understand those simple instructions. Receptive language skills do begin from birth when a baby begins to purposefully look around and respond to the attention that you are giving him or her. And they start to notice environmental sounds such as a dog barking or a fire engine. This is early receptive language skills. Okay, so moving on, I just want to make the point that there is a key relationship between comprehension. Comprehension is what we understand or what we comprehend, and cognition. Cognition is related to our thinking and reasoning skills. So in young children, certainly children under 3, there is a strong correlation between comprehension and cognition. Let's start to think about some milestones then. So take a second to think about at what age would you expect a child to discriminate between an angry voice and a friendly voice? So looking at the options here on the screen, is it birth, 2 months, 6 months, or 8 months? What do you think? Say the answer aloud. Okay, well the answer is actually birth, or at least almost birth. Within 4 days of life, a newborn child begins to discriminate between angry voices and friendly voices. So that just goes to show at such an early age, children are already developing receptive language skills. Okay, so a newborn child would already be showing awareness of who is speaking, quietening down for a familiar voice, attending or paying attention, and moving in response to a voice. And also, a newborn child will actually pay attention to the mouth when they're listening to voices. So that's really amazing at such an early stage. So let's start to think about another milestone. At what age would you expect a child to start to recognise familiar family members' names? Familiar family members' names. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months? Say it aloud. Okay, so the correct answer is 6 months. By 6 months, a child is able to recognise familiar names of those people around them. Monica, Monica. Where's Sammy? Here's Sammy. And also titles of people that are not actually names. So things like Daddy or Sufter might also become familiar to those children. Okay, so between birth and a child's first birthday, they're truly learning to comprehend the world, to understand the world and make sense of it. and they continue to show awareness of a speaker as they get older. However, their skills do improve. So already by age 1, a child is able to recognise, stop and look at a person when their own name is called, look at familiar people when they're named, and also to maintain attention of the person who is speaking. Children are also able to follow simple directions that are embedded with routines or everyday activities. They also learn to respond with gestures or vocalizations. Even though they may not have the words yet, they begin to understand that they should talk back when they're being spoken to. Ultimately, before a child is 1, he or she is already starting to understand the rules of conversation. Let's look at one more milestone then. At what age would you expect a child to already understand around 50 words? 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months, which is already 2 years? Say it aloud. Well, the average toddler at 18 months would in fact begin to already understand around 50 words. And let's move on to start thinking about what's called a 3-step unrelated command. A 3-step unrelated command. Let me give you an example of that. Put your plate in the bucket, wash your hands, go and lay down. 3 instructions, a 3-step command that is largely unrelated. Plate in the bucket, wash your hands, go and lay down. Would we be expecting that at 15 to 18 months, 21 to 24, 27 to 30, or 33 to 36? So it is actually 36 months by the time a child reaches 3. They should be capable of following fairly complex directions and answering some basic who, what, when questions. Okay, by the time a toddler is 18 months old, they'll understand a whole arsenal of vocabulary. And at 18 months, they're learning approximately 6 new words a day. And these words typically will relate to the child's everyday activities and everyday routines. So those words are really rooted in the concrete experiences for those children. They learn through repetition of words and objects or pictures that go along with the words. And as I've already said, they will only learn words that are concrete. That's in the here and now, not abstract words that they can't see, feel, or touch. Okay, so thinking about 2 to 3-year-olds then, by the time a child is in this age phase, their comprehension or their receptive language, as we would call it, are becoming more refined and more complex. Children are beginning to understand more abstract concepts, and vocabulary does not have to be quite so concrete for children in this age phase. With this in mind, they're able to answer more complicated questions, follow directions, and think beyond the whole to understand and identify individual features and parts of conversation. Brilliant. So we're going to think now about some tips for addressing and developing receptive language in what I've called the natural environment. That's away from planned activities and just in your everyday work with children. Okay, so while engaged in daily routines within a child's everyday environment, we do need to pay attention to how we're talking to the child and to the children that we have in the nursery. And these tips are going to address some of those things. So the first thing that I want to say is about keeping it simple. emphasizing key words in the sentences. And the younger the child, the more heavily you focus on a few key, simple words. It's snack time. Come and join us for snack time. Who's going to come and have snack with us? Oh, we're sitting down for snack. Sammy's sitting down for snack. Kfir's sitting down for snack. Amit is sitting down for snack. Libby is sitting down for snack. We're all having snack. What are we having for our snack? We're having bananas for our snack. We've got crackers and apples for our snack. I think you get the picture. Snack would be the key word that I'm emphasising in that particular example. So my second top tip is about following the child's lead. Thinking carefully about how to support that individual child, going where the child wants to go, not really thinking about your agenda as an adult, but following the child's lead. So for example, if they're heading towards the ball, you may scaffold them with language saying, are you going to get the ball? Well done, you're picking up the ball. And if they're heading for a book, you might say, getting your book, and going to have a little read with your book. So you scaffold around what the child is showing you by following the child's lead. My third top tip is about using words that the child uses. Use this as a starting point. Trigger their interest with words that they're using already. Okay, lots and lots of visual clues, please, when we're looking at supporting receptive language. Point to the object or the activity to direct the child's attention. If you're using books, point directly to the picture, say the names of the picture, make brief comments, provide other visual clues, including gestures, leading the child towards the object that you're talking about, making sure that the concrete objects that you're using in your conversation are within the child's vision, so they know what it is that you're talking about. And this is an old favourite of one of my dear colleagues, Emma. Make sure that your expressions are always matching your words. If you're upset or cross, your expression needs to match that, and so does the tone of your voice. It's no good saying, yes, don't throw food. It's no use saying that. You need to say, Kfir, don't throw the food. Keep it on the table, please. In a different tone to the tone that you use when you're praising. So lots of visual and audio clues. Repetition is so important, and that comes in here with top tip number 5. Repeat, repeat, and repeat again. Lots of extra repetitions support children in being able to process the words and the information that you're presenting. Please try to resist the urge to say things like, I've already told you that once, or twice, or 3 times. Repeat again and again. Well done. Taking your plate over to the bucket. That's it. Stand up. Take your plate over to the bucket. Here we go. That's it. All together then. Bring your plate over to the bucket. All the children now picking up your plates. That's it. Come on over here and bring them to the bucket. That's the approach, rather than, I've told you once, plates over here. That's not what I want to hear. Lots and lots of encouraging repetition. And do think about chunking your directions. Until a child is following directions consistently, limit yourself to giving really simple commands with one piece of information at a time. So rather than pick up your cup, put your cup in the sink, rinse the cup, chunk the directions. So you're feeding one part of that at a time. Pick up your cup from the table, pick up the cup so it's in your hand, pick it up, well done. That's chunk 1. Chunk 2, bring it over to the sink. Come on, come over here with the cup. Bring over the cup to the sink. That's chunk number 2. and so on. Use different words when children obviously don't understand what it is that you're trying to say. So if, for example, time to go or it's home time isn't working, you might switch to it's time to say bye-bye. So switch in language. Sometimes that's simpler or more familiar to the child. Okay, so number 8. This is a really important one. Give children time to think. Don't come in too quickly with another question or another command or another request. Give the children the time they need to effectively process, think about, and act on what you've asked or told them to do. And my last top tip for today is about being consistent with realistic expectations, time and patience, and age-appropriate requests and commands. Think very, very carefully about the age and stage of the child that you're talking to. Well, thank you for listening to me. It's been really brilliant being with you and being with this small presentation. And I hope that if there's one thing that you can take away from today, it's thinking about how receptive language is key to supporting children's development. Receptive language, remember, is language that children understand. Thank you for listening.